November, but I subsequently retrieved my diary of that specific week, and it's supposed to be on the 11th of November. I was summoned to Major General Sinona's office in Durban. I went to the office, and there was Major General Sinona, Lieutenant General Mosekile, as well as Brigadier Nuswa and Brigadier Naika. I was interviewed about the break-in. It lasted about 90 minutes. It could have been a bit longer. Lieutenant General Mosekile conducted that interview, and I answered questions. The other officers also asked me questions. I did tell Lieutenant General Mosekile that the alarm was not serviced and was not linked to a security company. She was very shocked and made notes. Subsequently, there were follow-up internal investigations. All the members at my office were called for polygraph testing. We all underwent the test. All the members were subjected to a 3-hour test. My test was for 6 hours. I was treated as a suspect, but I did pass my test nonetheless.
Are you aware that polygraph tests were conducted in respect of all the people who were involved in the delivery of the cocaine? Delivery at Port Shepstone?
Commissioner, that was never communicated to us. It only communicated to me. I got a letter with everybody from Port Shepstone's names on there and the dates they must be there for their polygraph testing. So the rest of the officers, I don't know.
How soon after the theft did this polygraph test, were the tests conducted?
It was done over a period of 2 weeks because they only did three people.
But was it in December? Because the theft happened in the first weekend of November. And then when was the polygraph test conducted?
I would say it was before December.
Before December, the same year?
I think it was within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Commissioner, the exhibits were never recovered. Well, I've been interviewed several times in relation to the matter. I do not know the status or the progress of this investigation.
Thank you. Just as a way forward, or some of the issues that I'd like to understand, just two. Do you think, I may have asked this, do you think all of you, in particular your superiors, acted in line with the applicable regulatory framework, that's the national instruction and the protocol?
Sorry, I missed the question.
I'm saying, do you think, is it your view that, I would understand that were your superiors, did they act in line with the national instruction and protocol?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. Okay. No, that's fine. I think that is all on my side.
In paragraph 70 of the statement, where you say Warrant Officer Mpangase needed to come to the office to take samples of the exhibits, do you know whether anything was taken away by him on that day? By Mpangase, how many or how much, what exactly was taken, to where, and was it returned, and when?
I was later told by Warrant Officer van den Berg no samples were taken.
None were taken?
No.
But Mpangase did arrive on the 23rd of June?
On 2 occasions, yes.
Yes, and didn't take any samples?
Not that we are aware of, no.
Okay. And then at 71, you say there was no register. That is the very last sentence where you're describing when they arrived, you gave them access, keys to the safe, you opened the gate, and then you say there was also no register that was completed. Can you just explain this register?
Warrant Officer van der Berg made an OB entry for each time that they came. Exact time they came, exact time they left. But as such, like a visiting register, no, we don't have that. But he made an OB entry every time they came.
Okay. So when you say there was no register that was completed, it's not as if there was a register to complete.
No.
You're just saying there's no document
Yes, that's correct,
that was done.
Commissioner.
Does that mean, therefore, that you don't, Potchefstroom office doesn't have a record or never had a record of the officers who came that day to deliver the cocaine? You don't have a list of names?
No.
Okay. And then in paragraph 72, you speak about Brigadier Naika of SANEB. How would he have known that the drugs are kept at Potchefstroom? Was he present when the drugs were delivered
No.
to you? He wasn't.
No.
How would he have known then?
I presume he was informed, because all seizures of drugs gets reported through his office.
That's a seizure. We are talking storage. So I'm asking about the storage. How and why would he have known that where they are?
I really cannot, I can't tell you who informed him. That I don't know, Commissioner.
Ordinarily, whatever his position is, you say he's the SANEB coordinator
For South Africa.
for South Africa. What does that mean? Do you know what that position means?
All drug-related matters goes through his office.
Okay. And would that include that now the drugs are at FSL, that kind of detail?
Yes, he would have that.
He would know that.
He would know that.
And so he would know where they are stored.
Yes.
If they had been left at Isipingo, he would know.
Yes.
So you're not surprised, you're not making anything of the fact that he knew that the drugs are at Potchefstroom?
No, I don't.
Okay. And then further on, at 78, you say you received a call on the 4th of November. This is a few days before the theft or the break-in. You received a call from Colonel Jacob. And then he said now he's the investigating officer. You had been told and you had been dealing with Mbangase as the investigating officer. How does it work that a police officer calls you? There's no formal communication from Nuswa to you. You hadn't received any instructions. Mbangase was introduced in Nuswa's presence, that he's the investigating officer. How does it come about that Colonel Jacob can just pick up the phone and call you and say, now I'm the investigating officer, without you hearing from your superior?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, that was originally why I put it in my statement, the first statement that I conducted for this theft. I also found that odd that Brigadier Nuswa didn't inform me of this, and that it happened a couple of days before this break-in. That's why it was mentioned in my statement. I would have thought that Brigadier Nuswa would have phoned me and said, there's a new investigating officer appointed now. It's Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so. He will contact you. Please allow him entry and assist him.
And even after the 4th of November, he never spoke to you about this new investigating officer? He never said anything to you?
No, he did not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
If I were to draw up a list of suspects as to who stole this cocaine, members of the DPCI would be number one on my list. Do you want to comment on that?
Commissioner, not only members
Of course, that's a, no, I'm just answer that part of it. I'm actually going to go where I think you want to go. But number one for me would be members of the DPCI.
I would agree with you, Commissioner.
And then I do not discount the possibility that other people outside of the DPCI, possibly even outside of SAPS, could have been informed by the DPCI or SAPS that the cocaine was stored in Port Shepstone. So there is that wide, amorphous group of suspects as well. But number one is DPCI.
Commissioner, I agree with you, but as well as those members, they're not all DPCI members that assisted to bring the cocaine there to my office.
Or I assume that those were DPCI as well.
No, it's a task team.
Or some not.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. But in any event, in the event that they were outside, those outside would still have been even if the theft was committed by outsiders, those outsiders would still have received information from the law enforcement officers you've just referred to. So those law enforcement officers, including DPCI, would still have been complicit.
I agree with you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Something else. You said in paragraph 50, you say that the team of people that came included the tracing team, which is composed of TRT members and DPCI members, and then their commander is Dina Govender. You remember that? Ordinarily, and you say this team is ordinarily involved or was formed to deal with cash in transit cases. Now, ordinarily, who would accompany the transport of drugs? What is unusual about this cash in transit team or the TRT members being with DPCI members to transport this consignment?
The possibility is there, Commissioner, that they just assisted Warden of Simpangase for manpower to bring the drugs there to Port Shepstone. Because they're obviously well armed.
Yeah. Ordinarily, do the TRT ordinarily provide support for the transit of drugs that have been seized, such as this?
They do. When we had that large amount of mandrakes, it was a TRT from Port Shepstone that assisted us to take the stuff to Pretoria.
Okay. So the fact itself that there was TRT as part of this team in itself, it doesn't necessarily, you're not mentioning it to indicate something odd or unusual about who came.
No, Commissioner.
You were not doing that?
No.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Colonel.
Can I just follow up on that? Apologies, Commissioner. The combis, just to be clear, were they submarked vehicles or they were unmarked?
Commissioner, you've got me now. I think some were marked, some were unmarked. Yeah, because TRT used marked vehicles, but there were some of them that were unmarked as well.
I'm talking about the combis.
Some of them were unmarked, but I can recall at least one was marked.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Colonel, lastly, you've heard me earlier expressing the concern that something is horribly going wrong here, but because of the command structure, you don't have the ability, you consider yourself not to have the ability to raise matters of concern. If you were invited to make suggestions that would empower officers to speak up in situations like this. Because for me, an ordinary member of the public who is not in the police force, I do not understand what happened here, and that someone of your seniority who is left, in whose custody these drugs are left. Yes, the key is with somebody else, but it is your office. I know I would have been concerned that if there's a break-in, they will look at me and say I'm a suspect, which you say is what they did to you. So I would have been much more interested, I think, to get security and other things in place. So that's where my question comes from, that if you were to be invited to make suggestions about what should be considered to be done to ease things up so that when there are concerns like this, which are real concerns, and we know this from the consequence, if nothing else, to empower police officers or enable police officers to take up these matters. Matters should not have to die at Brigadier Nuswa because for some reason he's not interested in making sure that there's security. It shouldn't end up with Brigadier Nuswa that the drugs are kept at a place that's wholly inappropriate by any definition. And they should not have been there, but that you should have been empowered to escalate the matter. What would you suggest, if anything?
If I would be invited, you mean out of this commission?
Been in this commission. If we said to you, make suggestions to us, what improvements you think or changes should be in order to mitigate situations like this?
I will do that, Commissioner.
Do you have any thoughts immediately, or you want to give it some thought?
Not now. I must give it some thought, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Skakan.
Thank you very much, Colonel.